So, Dr. Jana, it's nice to see you again. It's been Jana who? Schmidt, Dr. Jana Schmidt, naturopathic doctor. For those of you folks that are not familiar with Dr. Jana, her mentor was somebody you likely heard of because Robin Williams played this character in a famous film. Is that Dr. Doubtfire? No.
Patch Adams.
Oh, Patch Adams. Patch Adams.
Did you say Dr. Doubtfire? Is that what you said?
I don't know what I don't know. You got it recorded, so whatever I said, I don't recall. I don't recall. It might be the AI that's kind of synchronizing in. So okay, how did you cut your finger?
Oh, that's a boring story. We'll talk about one thing.
Which finger is it?
Number one. But good news is all natural. Healing it up. Didn't go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Stopped the blood with cayenne pepper, just pouring out.
Cayenne pepper.
Yep, cayenne might not hurt already, so it's cayenne and it just hurt more, but it stopped the bleeding. Using natural salves, the skin and the tissues completely healed. I'm actually taking pictures to document. It was that bad.
And a dolphin is to
blame, yeah.
Blame for that.
Sharp Cutco knife and the dolphin jumping out.
So, Jana, what we were explaining,
Dr. Jana, please.
Dr. Jana.
No, we're friends.
Yeah, he does fly helicopters that have weapons on them. He says he does. We haven't seen each other in like a year because I stopped doing Clay's events to concentrate on the book that is now with the publisher. What I was saying was this, Dr. Jana, was that I brought Tony Lyons on the show, and Tony Lyons has used a publisher out of New York. RFK Jr. has used Tony Lyons' publisher out of New York, named Skyhorse Publishing. Now, this is what you don't know. This is what I was going to share this with you because I know you're very interested and you're very supportive of the work that I do. And Tony says, "Who's your publisher?" And I says, "Well, it's a small publishing house out of Oregon, and the name is Trine Day." And he says, "Oh, can you introduce me to Chris because I'd like to merge." Are you talking about a guy that's publishing Dr. Mikovits, RFK Jr., of course, you mentioned that, and I know he published Kent Heckin. Yeah, he's published Kent Heckin Library. By the way, one of Kent's editors is a guy that edited my material. I went to Kent and I said, "Hey, Kent, do you have an editor?" So he turned me on to his editor. Jana, he got through 2 passes, they call it. And he says, "Ian, I can't go any further." He says, "I don't have the emotional strength." This is the editor. And I'm thinking to myself, you don't need emotional strength. You need mental clarity and focus to, yeah, right. He says, "I can't go through this." So I'm looking for other editors, and he's already giving me a really good deal because of Kent. And I give him 2 weeks, and I reapproach him, and he says, "Okay, I'll give it one more go." And that's now what's been with Chris. Okay, so Chris gets introduced to Tony with Skyhorse. He says, "No, I'm not interested in the merger. Trying to not interested in the merger with Skyhorse, not interested in the merger with Skyhorse." And Chris comes back to me after receiving the material, and he says. So he's got the manuscript last October. He's got the manuscript. And he comes back to me and he says, "Ian," he says, "there's information in here that I simply do not agree with."
Oh, interesting.
And I'm like, "Oh, here we go again. Right? Here I go again. I've got to I gotta deal with the editor to get the editor to refocus, just edit." Now I've had this agreement with the publisher for 4 years. I've taken, kind of put everything on hold to work on the book. I put everything on hold to work on the book. I stopped doing these events, And now the publisher is like, hey,
issue with something.
right.
Okay, just stop for just a moment and tell everybody the name of the book.
The book is Freedom Reserved, No More Lies.
Okay.
And Freedom Reserved, No More Lies can be bought at Books A Million, pre-ordered. It was on Amazon and some other outlets, but it's still up on Books A Million. It's not been published. It's in pre-published.
This way, they'll know what to do.
So Jana, he says I don't agree with information in the book, but that's not my role as a publisher.
Right, exactly.
So he says we're getting close. This is back in October. Yeah, I get people asking about the book all the time because they want to read what I've written, right? So anyway, so that's the update
I'm
on me.
anxious to see what's so controversial. I mean, I can guess.
Okay, all right.
I know, I can kind of guess, but yeah, I'm interested to see what gave them cause.
This is a really fascinating location for me, Jana, because I started doing, because of Roger's friend Doug, I started doing relay tours as soon as Clay did his first in Tulsa, right? So I started doing Tulsa events, and I'm looking at what Clay's doing along the way, and we lived this, didn't we? We lived this, and your husband's an airline pilot, right? So we experienced this, and we were literally the only freedom fighters out there standing up for our beliefs. We were the ones. So the work that Clay has done is so important. But to circle back to why this location is important to me is because I was living in Miami Beach. I started the show in South Beach. And in 2015, I go to the building where the stage is, and Doral gives a free candidacy.
I did not know that. Wow.
Free candidacy speech where he says, if I run for president, I'll do so as an independent self-financed. That speaks to me because I voted for Ross Perot. So I'm like, independent self-financed? That's my guy. And I'm dating at the time a Harvard medical doctor.
Oh my goodness.
No kidding. Well, she got her degree from Harvard and then went to medical school in Illinois. Very liberal woman. But she's now like, whoa, this guy's on something. This guy, Donald Trump. Okay, now, then, fast forward about 3 years, I started the show because of the Zika virus. 3 years later, the COVID-19 virus gets into mainstream. I returned to Doral, where I'm at an AmFest, which is a conservative. This is where I meet Roger, the conservative movement. And what they're doing at the AmFest leads me to a fundraiser for the president at this building over here, where he's speaking with Kimberly Guilfoyle, Mike Pence. This is a $5,000 ticket. I can't afford that. But the guy that I start working with, the Google whistleblower, he gets funded with money. This is wild. So we go to the event thinking he's going to get in. His name is Voorhees, Zach Voorhees. He's going to get in. I walk him up to the front. They let us both in. Because they look at him, they ask him, hey, is this guy with you? He says, yeah. Next thing we know is we're both inside the ballroom, mixing and mingling with some of the top donors in South Florida for the president. Then we get introduced to Tiffany Trump. We're talking to his daughter, and I look Tiffany right in the eye, just like I'm looking your wife in the eye right now. I looked her right in the eye, and I says, you get this information to your father. I didn't point the finger. But when you make that kind of stern eye contact with somebody, they know what you're talking about. 4 hours later, 5 hours later, after the NBC town hall meeting night, she brought her father back here where we were mixing and mingling up at that bar restaurant. She walks in, Secret Service swarms the room.
Of course.
There's no announcement. She walks in right up to Zach. He calls Zach an American hero for blowing the whistle on Google. And then he points over at me and he calls me the prize fighter. So on that card, it's America's prize fighter. He calls me a prize fighter. But it's a very kind of interesting location for me, right? Because South Beach, Florida. But I've been in Montana, doing concentrating on the book for a while. So anyway, Jana, you're very patient, and you just gave me 10 minutes of your time.
This is good. This is great information. I wanted to hear how things are going.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And we keep in contact, and I appreciate your support. Your son, I'm assuming, is. I mean, I've only met one, but he's rocking and rolling. 1 of 3.
Tell world, doing missionary work, helping rescue children, nonprofit organization, missions.
Okay. So, where does that take you? Your travels?
Take me?
Yeah, in the work.
So where have we been? We've been so many.
Oh, he just showed me the song. We've been everywhere.
We've been everywhere.
Man, oh wait a second. Yes, I know about this. I know about
Have you
this.
seen the video?
I'm sure you've shared it with you. I'm sure you've seen it. Yeah. So you have been traveling the world.
Oh, we've been traveling the world for years, but in this freedom fight, I mean, it's definitely, everyone's searching for it. Everyone is searching for freedom and truth. With the medical freedom, so many people are saying, we need this, but nobody is doing anything. Dr. Simone Gold, more than 2 years ago, really started putting that into action. And so we've been going nonstop. And now, Gold Care is now open in every state, private membership, completely autonomous from government, pharmaceutical influence, insurance influence, nothing to do with that. And we have droves of doctors who got fired or pushed out for speaking truth and just wanting to just inform people to tell people this is what you have to choose. Let alone speaking about, like this is dangerous and we don't want to do these certain things for you. So, and not just MDs and specialists, but naturopaths, nutrition, health coaches, pastoral care. That's the difference about health care. So we have allopathic clinical, and we also have naturopathic holistic working seamlessly together to offer like true health care. But we also have pastoral care, not just for our members, but for the staff. So we pray with them on a regular basis and just make sure everyone's good and on the right page and focusing. And Dr. Gold said something really interesting. Someone approached us because I'm the wellness director, so I'm in charge of what supplements we suggest. And boy, I say that, and I like to announce that somewhere that I was in charge of like what supplements for men. I got flooded. Oh, BMI, do this, do affiliate, join this multi-level marketing. It's like flooded. But here's her stance. She doesn't want to have Gold Care making any profit on prescriptions, pharmaceuticals at all. No profit on imaging, x-rays. Think if you take that profit margin out of all of that and supplements. She doesn't want to make any profit on supplements. So even have people say, oh, well, she's a white label, we'll make her vitamins. No, she said it's too corrupted. She wants to keep it corrupted out of our health and just doing true health care. There's a lot of people already out there doing great supplements. Let's find those people, focus on them, and we'll support them. We'll say, go to these people. And if for some reason they do give us an affiliate kickback, the suggestion was, we're going to get that on the way. We're going to get that to charities that help people that need help in the medical field movement, trying to help people get well. So I thought that was brilliant. It's very, very transparent, like what we're doing and what you actually get. And until we get clinics and surgery centers and hospitals built, which we are feverishly working on, until we get all that built, then we have major medical covered with Gold Care Plus. It's a cost sharing industry. So that covers, like, if someone does have to go to the hospital for some reason, someone's having a baby. We took as many scenarios as we could possibly think of with insurance, self-pay, and Medicare. Like, oh, I broke my arm, x-ray, this, someone's having a baby, or someone's got diabetes. We took all those scenarios, and every time it was less if you go through but with better care. Right? So we have freedom-loving, godly doctors, and we have supplement companies that we trust and we're so ethical. We check their certificate analysis. Freedom pharmacies, not these big chain stores, like these mom and pop shops. So this is what we're building, and that parallel society and that parallel is actually happening through Gold Care. And they're not just talking about it, we're open in every state now, all 50 states.
Every state.
Yeah. So when someone, if you're a member with Gold Care and you go on and say, oh, I want to see Dr. Jana as my doctor today, you just and the bios are there, the specialties are there, we have specialists in rehabilitation and sports injury and mental health and psychiatrists and pediatricians, and it's amazing. I'm in awe. I'm in awe of it. It's literally, I think, a hope for good health care in the future.
Yeah, and so at this point, Jana, you're in every state.
Dr. Jana.
How many? Thank you, Dr. Roger. How many users does Gold Care have?
Oh, it changes every day. Every day we get more and more and more. And whole companies are signing on with this. All their employees are just, this past week, do you know Alfio's from Seed to Table?
No.
So he has the Freedom grocery store in Naples, but it's not just a grocery store. It's an incredible venue. He has farms, like his own farms that supplement a lot of the food there. Amazing clean food, but it's a venue. So up top there's fans and there's pastors and political people, and there's always something going on. He treats his people amazing. He's opening up stores, not just grocery stores, but restaurants all over Naples. He is just, he's here at the Reawakening.
Okay, great.
He'll be speaking about food. He never closed the door. He's so outspoken and so amazing. So he's bringing, he already understands freedom. He already understands our model. We didn't even have to sell it to him. He's like, yep, this is what I want for all my employees. So 4,000, I heard, employees as Gold Care as their only health care. What an honor.
Incredible. So there, my time is limited in regards to keeping up with various items. Maybe a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, I was fortunate. I was able to reach out to you, and there was a situation with a woman in Southern California that had, I think, a heart issue, and the belief from the family was that it was induced by the fact that the person was vaccinated. What do you say again? I'm sure it's a very common question you get for Jana, and I apologize. But of course, your website is it American Frontline Doctors, or is it Global? Where would you direct somebody that says, "Hey, my family member is ailing from whatever it may be. I know it's the vaccine."
Right. There's several options there. So my personal website that I've had for years and years is Jana's All Natural, JANAS All Natural, and I have loads of articles and research studies and suggestions for detox, suggestions for protecting against spike protein in the body. It's very clear, very short. Here's what it is, here's what it does, here's what you get, and here's the article that supports it. So that's always good. And then I often suggest other resources if people need it. And then America's Frontline Doctors is always on it, right? Always. The Frontline Flash are in there. Always having something new and on the cutting edge, what's happening, research, and how we help people. And then Gold Care. I mean, if you really want doctors are going to truly take care of us, and not just doctors, coaches,
Pastors.
So I think those three are really good sources.
General Flynn's part of it? Or is she sticking with the VA? I don't know. Is there a naturopathic side of the VA?
No, there's not.
Part of the VA is even. Don't get me started on the VA.
Not at all. I know that people in general are friends. Like, yeah, it's really good stuff. And there's exciting things happening. I'm working with a company called The Body.
The Body.
Dr. Avery Jackson, who's a neurosurgeon, who started this as training, education for medical professionals. what they didn't get in med school, right? What I got in my med school. So we can be more well-rounded and really help people get them off drugs they shouldn't be on, help them gain that, especially now, right? There's so many things happening now, whether it's you got COVID, you got long haul, or you got the shot, you got, X, Y, and Z, numerous things that could happen from that. So that's been exciting. It's also introduced me to the Crow Nation judge.
The Crow Nation judge.
Tribal judge in Nevada. He's also an ND.
An ND.
He's a naturopath as well. And we just clicked, and he wants to build a full apothecary. All the types of things that we could possibly need without pharmaceuticals to go with his surgery centers and clinics. So, there's so many opportunities right now to do the right thing, and we're scrambling to do it fast so we can provide good health care, honest, true supplements, everything to help people get better.
That's amazing. Have you gotten involved? I want to go back to this trick that you guys done in that video. And that was kind of personal, right?
Personal.
It was personal.
But on some of the ones where, we were doing speaking, tours and
but I know it's got some significance to your family and your.
it does. It's fun.
Yeah. And so, anyway, how has and Simone has joined the show before, and I saw her yesterday briefly. I don't think she recognized me, but there's a movement from the work that I do, and I try to work with as many politicians as I possibly can to kind of educate them on what they may not necessarily know, right? Because they say this sort of thing needs to happen only by an act of Congress. Well, let's get an act of Congress, right? But from the political spectrum of corruption, things are really bad.
Now we get an act of God. An act of God would make Congress act.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, there's fortunately there's no state that is opposed to the work that you're doing, right? I mean, there's not any legislation that's
actively stopping people doing health care?
Right.
No, it's a private membership.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Yeah, it's good. And Dr. Gold is brilliant. She's also a lawyer.
Right.
So she has thought of safety net after safety net after safety.
Amazing. And what state happens to be the state where it's flourishing the most? Florida?
Yes. Florida's flourishing the most. That's true.
Okay, so as we wind down, this is a public video that people that like your work, they can find online, the travelings.
Oh, yes. It's a traveling, so it's really my husband Mike's passion, I guess, for years and years. My dad loved this song by Johnny Cash called "I've Been Everywhere, Man." You know that one? So he used to make me memorize it and sing it with him.
He made you memorize
it? As a kid, we'd sing it together. And so he said something Mike has always said as an international airline pilot, "I've been everywhere, man." And so he said, "Okay, so how many of those cities in that song have you actually been to?" And he counted it up, and it wasn't enough to claim the song. So he's like, "That's it. I'm going to go to each one," but then start taking pictures. So we have this great video.
How many cities are there? 92 places.
92 places.
91 cities, but I definitely went up the road.
Right, 92 places, 91 cities. And so our brilliant editing son, put this video together to the Johnny Cash song, and it's like us and all these places. So when he gets home, he can tell us how to find it. I don't know.
You know how to find it.
I mean, Everywhere Man song, I'm not sure. He can tell us what it is. We get to go to some cool places and meet some wonderful people, and honestly, bring hope. There's so much the sky is falling, and it kind of is, but we know what to do. We know how to counteract it.
Yeah, we know how to kind of.
Including these heart problems and things that people are having. Including those, there's things, there's always something that we can do, always, to improve health. Always.
Yeah, and Roger just had a procedure done. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, Roger had it. Would you have Roger?
Whoa, how are you feeling now?
Quadruple bypass.
Wow.
He's lost 50 pounds.
VA tried to kill me.
This dentist is onto it.
Look at that picture. My goodness.
That's a Cobra Apache. Cobra Apache.
How do we find the video?
I've been everywhere, man. Like Schmidt.
Yeah, I'm everywhere, man. Mike Schmidt.
It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. You can find it. It's super fun. Yeah.
Dr. Jana here, Dr. Jana Schmidt. Thank you so much for joining the program again. It's great to see you. After it's been a year, I believe. I don't know if it's San Diego or anyway. We saw each other. But so just some final thoughts. I mean, the cabal that I refer to, it's an international kind of organization that is clearly working overtime to destroy and attempt to bring down this country, whether it's the border invasion or whatever it is. They know that people like us are onto them. We saw that, right? We saw that during the lockdowns, and we were pushing back, right? And we talked about Josh Yoder and the work Josh Yoder's done. Where do you, just as a closing, well, let's just leave it at this, because I would like you to leave listeners with some final thoughts from you as a human being and the work that you and the contributions that you've given to society and healthcare. Leave listeners with some final words, if you would.
There's a lot going on, and I feel like you have to be very discerning who you connect yourself with, who you share things with, right? And then be very discerning how you connect with and your relationships. I feel like there's a lot of talk on preparing, being prepared, but that can look like a lot of things. So spiritually prepare your immune system for everything and anything, because we don't know. We really can't. We can guess, we can get a little here and there with some whistleblowers, but we really don't know what's happening next as far as our health concerns and what might be an issue. So prepare your immune system now. Do the things that I have a whole list of super simple things that really make a difference in your immune system stronger on my website. Strengthen your immune system. There it is. And be prepared for it. If you're strong mind, strong body, you can handle these other things, right?
That's right.
Yep. And to always remember that there's no evil that our God can do. So that's it.
Dr. Jana Schmidt, thank you very much.
Thanks. Thank you.
It's a wrap.